That night, she sat at the edge of my bed last night. I felt the mattress dip, the cold weight pressing down, and I knew I wasn't sleeping alone. It all started when my girlfriend passed away. They say grief dulls with time, that the edges soften, that eventually you can breathe again without tasting ashes. Whoever said that never lost someone like her. 6 months have passed since Lila died, and I still wake up reaching for her. My hand falls onto cold sheets every morning, and every morning the reality crushes me all over again. It doesn't matter how many times I remind myself she's gone, it always feels new, like I'm learning it for the first time. The apartment is too quiet. We had chosen it together, circled listings, toured open houses, argued gently about paint colors and whether or not the tiny balcony was charming or useless. She loved the kitchen with its ugly tile, said it felt lived in, imperfect like us. Now she'll never cook in it, never spill wine on the counters, never hum along to the radio while chopping onions. It's just me in here, me and the silence. I don't play music anymore. I don't cook either. Most nights I eat crackers or a bowl of cereal on the couch, staring at the wall until I realize it's too late to keep pretending I'll do something productive. Then I drag myself into the bedroom we were supposed to share and collapse into bed. That's when it's worst. The bed was never meant for one. It's too wide, too open, too cold. I try to curl up on one side, but the emptiness beside me is unbearable. Sometimes, without thinking, I roll into her space, pressing my face into her pillow. I swear it still smells faintly like her perfume, lavender and smoke. But I don't know if it's real, or if my brain is cruel enough to trick me with phantom scents. Nights are long here. The city sleeps eventually, but I never do. I toss and turn, kicking off the blankets, pulling them back, listening to the hum of the refrigerator or the faint rush of cars far below. When exhaustion finally drags me under, my dreams are filled with her. Not always in obvious ways, sometimes it's just her laughter echoing in the distance. Sometimes her silhouette disappearing around a corner I can never turn fast enough to follow. I wake with my heart racing, drenched in sweat, my arms reaching for someone who isn't there. I talk to her sometimes. That's the part I don't tell anyone. My friends tell me to move on, to journal, to meditate, to heal. They don't know that at night. I whisper into the dark like a fool, hoping somehow she can hear me. I miss you, Lila. I can't do this without you. Maybe it's crazy. Maybe grief just makes you desperate, but when I say her name in the stillness of the room, I swear the air changes. It gets heavier, thicker, like the dark itself is listening. Sometimes I think I hear the faintest sound in response, a shift in the floorboards, the creak of the mattress. It never lasts long enough to be certain. Maybe I'm just hearing the apartment settle, maybe it's nothing. But deep down, I want it to be her. What scares me most isn't the thought that she's gone forever. What scares me is the thought that she's still here, that she's watching me waste away, and she's as trapped as I am. Because grief isn't just sadness. It's a haunting in its own right. It lingers in every corner, shadows shaped like memories, voices that slip through silence. When I brush my teeth, I see her reflection beside mine, even though I know the mirror is empty. When I hang my jacket by the door, I picture her shoes beneath the hook, though the floor is bare, and when I go to bed, I feel the dip of the mattress as though someone else has joined me. That's the part that makes my skin crawl. It's not constant, just fleeting, just enough to make me doubt myself. A subtle shift in weight, a change in pressure. My rational mind screams it's nothing, that I'm imagining it because I'm lonely, but my heart whispers otherwise. It whispers her name. The first night it happened, I sat up so fast I nearly fell out of bed. My pulse thundered in my ears. The sheets were rumpled on the other side, indented like someone had been sitting there. I stared at it until my eyes blurred, whispering her name without realizing it. Lila? No answer. Just silence, thick and suffocating. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt watched. Not by something malevolent, not exactly, but not by something human either. The room felt occupied in a way that sent chills up my spine, though no one was there. That was the first sign. The first moment where grief stopped being an emptiness and started becoming something else. I want to believe it's her, that she loves me so much she couldn't move on, that she's trying to comfort me the only way she can, but if it's really her, why doesn't she speak? Why doesn't she touch me the way she used to? Why does her presence feel so heavy, so cold, so wrong? I curl beneath the blanket, trembling, clutching the pillow that still smells faintly of her. My tears soak through the fabric, my chest heaves with ragged breaths, and I whisper the same words over and over into the dark. I miss you. I love you. Please, don't leave me. And the silence answers, but I can't shake the feeling that one day soon, the silence will answer differently. The first night I truly felt her was the night I realized my grief wasn't just grief, it was something else, something heavier, something that didn't belong to me alone. It started with the bed. Always the bed. I was lying there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep to drag me under. My eyes burned, but my mind wouldn't shut off. I kept replaying the accident in my head, how I got the call, how the officer's voice cracked when he said her name, how the hospital smelled like bleach and despair. I wanted it to stop just for a while, but my brain kept turning it over like a stone in a hand, smooth and cruel. That's when I felt it. The mattress dipped beside me slowly, deliberately, as if someone had just sat down. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I had shifted in my half-sleep. Maybe the springs were old and groaning on their own. But the weight stayed. It pressed down, pulling the sheets taut around me. I froze. My breath came shallow, my chest aching with every second I held still. My eyes darted toward the other side of the bed, but the room was dark. I couldn't see anything beyond the vague outline of the dresser against the wall. Still, I knew. Every hair on my body rose, and an icy awareness crawled up my spine. I wasn't alone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to bolt upright and turn on the lamp. Prove to myself that nothing was there, but I didn't. I couldn't. Because deep down, beneath the fear, there was another feeling. Hope. I whispered her name, just one word trembling in the dark, Lila. The bed shifted again, ever so slightly as if someone leaned closer, and then, faintly, I smelled it. Lavender and smoke, the perfume she wore every night, the one that used to cling to her skin and our sheets long after she was gone to work. My stomach twisted, my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst, and still I lay frozen, afraid to move, afraid to shatter whatever fragile thing had just happened. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time my eyes grew heavy, I felt the pressure beside me, the scent of her ghost settling deeper into the air. My brain screamed it wasn't possible, but my heart whispered that it was. She was here. She had found me. The next morning, I looked at the bed before I even stood up. The sheets on her side were rumpled, indented in a way that couldn't have been from me. I pressed my palm into the dip, as if it might still hold some trace of her warmth. But, of course, it was cold. Always cold. For the rest of the day, I walked through the apartment like a stranger. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of the pipes made me jump. I kept catching myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see her standing in the doorway, smiling the way she used to when she caught me off guard. But there was nothing. Just the hollow echo of what used to be. That night, I told myself I was imagining things. Stress, exhaustion, loneliness, it all makes people see what they want to see. I made tea, left the lights on, buried myself in a blanket on the couch like a child. I told myself I wouldn't sleep in the bed again. Too many memories, too many shadows. But by 2 a.m, exhaustion won. I dragged myself into the bedroom and collapsed onto the mattress, swearing I wouldn't think about it, swearing I wouldn't let my mind run wild. The moment I shut my eyes, I felt the dip again. Slow. Careful, like someone easing themselves down beside me. My throat went dry. My fingers dug into the blanket, and I held my breath. This time, I wasn't silent. "If it's you," I whispered into the dark, my voice cracking. "Don't hurt me." The words hung there like a confession. I felt ridiculous, terrified, fragile, but I couldn't take them back. And though no voice answered, something in the room changed. The air grew heavy, thick enough that I struggled to breathe, and the scent of lavender was unmistakable. It surrounded me, pressed into my skin, filled my lungs. Tears slid down my face as I lay there, trembling. I wanted her so badly it hurt, wanted her enough that the fear didn't matter. If it was Lila, if it was really her, I would take whatever pieces of her I could, even if those pieces belonged to the dark now. The mattress shifted again, just barely, as if in response. My body ached to turn toward her, to look, to reach out my hand and prove she was there, but something deep inside me told me not to, that if I saw her, if I touched her, she wouldn't be the same Lila I loved. So I kept my eyes shut tight, whispering her name into the air, clinging to the hope and the terror that braided together in my chest. I never thought grief could follow me into the dark like this, and I never thought that night, lying frozen in bed with her name on my lips, would only be the beginning. I tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that it was stress, or the tricks grief plays on a tired mind, but denial only works in daylight. At night, when the world sinks into silence, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. She was there. The third night was when everything changed. I had gone to bed exhausted, hoping maybe sheer fatigue would keep me under, keep me safe. But at 3:07 a.m., I woke to the sound of the bed springs groaning beside me. Not faint, not subtle this time, loud, deliberate, like someone had leaned their full weight onto the mattress. My body went rigid. I didn't dare move. My eyes strained in the darkness, trying to make sense of the shadow bending across the room. That's when I smelled it again. Lavender and smoke, stronger now, almost overwhelming. It filled my lungs, invaded every corner of me until I wanted to choke on it. I whispered her name. Leela. For a moment, the room went dead silent. Then the mattress dipped deeper. I could feel it pulling me toward that empty side of the bed. The sheets tightened against my body, dragging across my skin like invisible fingers. My heart hammered so loudly I thought it might burst. And then I felt it. The unmistakable sensation of weight shifting closer, not just sitting, leaning, as if someone were bending toward me in the dark. I couldn't breathe. The air froze in my throat, my chest locked tight. A voice screamed inside me to open my eyes, to look, to prove what was happening. But another voice, quieter, sharper, warned me not to. That if I saw her now, she wouldn't be the Lila I remembered. So I lay there, eyes clenched shut, tears streaming down my face as the pressure beside me grew heavier. The room was ice cold. My skin prickled as if the warmth were being sucked out of me. I pulled the blanket up to my chin, but it didn't help. The cold wasn't outside me anymore. It was inside, seeping into my bones. Then I heard it. A breath, low, close, right beside my ear, too soft to be a draft, too real to be imagined. It stirred the tiny hairs on my neck, and with it came the faintest whisper, not words, not yet. Just the sound of someone exhaling after holding their breath far too long. I broke. A sob ripped through me before I could stop it. Lila, please. I choked out. If it's you, please. I can't take this. The breath stuttered like the sound of someone crying without a voice, and for a single second, I thought I felt her hand brush against mine under the blanket. But the touch wasn't warm. It was clammy, weightless, the kind of touch that leaves your skin colder than before. I jerked my hand back, burying it against my chest. My whole body shook as I curled into a ball, too afraid to move, too afraid to see what waited in the dark. The lavender scent clung to me, thick as smoke, pressing into my lungs until I coughed. Eventually, exhaustion stole me again. My body shut down even as my mind screamed. When I opened my eyes, gray light spilled through the blinds. Morning. I was alone. But the sheets weren't smooth. They were pulled tight, wrinkled on the other side, like someone had spent the night sitting there, watching me. I told myself I would never sleep in that bed again. I meant it. I swore I'd sleep on the couch, or on the floor anywhere else. But when night fell, my body betrayed me. My feet carried me back into the bedroom, back under the same sheets, back into the same waiting silence. It's strange, the way fear and longing twist together. Part of me wanted her to stop, to leave me alone, to give me peace. But another part, the part that still reached for her in the dark, wanted her back so badly I didn't care what form she took. Even if she came as a shadow, even if her touch froze me to the bone, even if the smell of her perfume made me gag, I wanted her. That's the cruelest part of it all. Grief doesn't just make you afraid of ghosts, it makes you welcome them. The next nights blurred together. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the dip of the mattress. Every time I whispered her name, the lavender thickened. Every time I told myself I would get up and run, I stayed, because running meant losing her all over again, and I couldn't survive that twice. But something else began to happen. The weight beside me grew stronger, the sounds sharper, the air heavier, and though she never spoke, the silence between us felt louder with each passing night. One evening, when the bed dipped and the cold wrapped around me like chains, I thought I saw her. Just a flicker in the corner of my vision, a pale outline sitting perfectly still, her head tilted toward me, the way she used to when she was waiting for me to talk. I didn't dare look directly. but I didn't need to. I knew she was there, and I knew this wasn't just grief anymore. This was something else. Something real. I lay in the dark, heart pounding, body trembling, whispering her name into the silence, and realized with a chill that I had only begun to understand what she was becoming. The nights grew heavier. By then, I had stopped pretending it was just my grief making me see and feel things. Too many small moments had stacked up. The bed shifting when no one should be there, the sudden brush of cold fingers against mine, the faintest pressure on my shoulder in the dark. I no longer doubted that Lila was here with me, but what unsettled me most was that her visits were no longer confined to the edge of my bed. It started one night when I woke to the sound of the kitchen faucet running. My heart thundered as I slipped out of bed, bare feet pressing against the cool floorboards. Every horror movie I'd ever seen warned me not to check, but it wasn't a monster I feared. It was Lila. And there she was. She stood by the sink, her hair hanging loose around her face, just the way she used to wear it when she couldn't sleep and wandered into the kitchen for tea. Her head was bent, her fingers curled over the faucet knob, though the water wasn't really flowing. It was only the sound, echoing sharp in my ears. "Lila," I whispered. Her head jerked slightly, not quite facing me. I caught a glimpse of her profile, her lips parted as if about to speak. For the first time, she seemed more than a shadow, more than a silent memory clinging to my room. She seemed aware, present. The weight in my chest cracked, and I took a step forward. My hand lifted instinctively, reaching for her shoulder, and then she vanished. Not slowly, not with any grace. 1 second she was there, solid and heartbreakingly real, and the next I was reaching for empty air. My palm sliced through nothing. The faucet squealed, then went quiet. The kitchen fell still. I staggered back against the counter, gasping, my eyes wide. I wanted to call her name again, to beg her to come back, but the silence swallowed me whole. And then, almost cruelly, the fridge hummed to life, grounding me again in the lonely truth. That night, I didn't go back to sleep. I sat at the table until dawn, staring at the chair across from me, the one she always used, and waiting. But she didn't return. The following days unraveled me further. I caught glimpses of her everywhere. The reflection in the mirror that wasn't quite mine, the shadow drifting behind the curtains though the windows were closed. Once, I swore I felt her hand slip into mine as I walked down the hallway, and I stopped dead, clutching the air like a desperate fool. The fear and the longing tangled together until I couldn't tell which feeling was stronger. She terrified me, but what terrified me more was the thought of her leaving again. Then came the night that truly broke me. I was lying in bed, the moonlight spilling through the blinds, when I heard the soft creak of footsteps. They weren't heavy or forceful, just the delicate, cautious steps I knew by heart. My breath caught in my throat, the mattress dipped. I didn't need to look. I felt the weight, the shift, the undeniable presence of someone sitting there. But I looked anyway, and my blood turned to ice. It was Lila. Her form was sharper than ever before, her features clear enough that I could trace the familiar curve of her jaw, the slope of her shoulders, but her skin was pale, far too pale, and her eyes glistened with something I couldn't name. They weren't empty, but they weren't alive either. She didn't smile. She didn't move. She just sat there staring at me, as though waiting for me to speak first. "Lila," I breathed, my throat tight with unshed tears. "God, Lila, it's really you." Her gaze flickered, and in that fleeting moment, I swear I saw the woman I loved, the warmth, the softness, the everything I had missed. My heart leapt, and I reached toward her. My fingers passed through her hand. The air was icy cold. I yanked back with a cry, pressing myself against the headboard. The room seemed to close in on me, the shadows stretching long and sharp. Lila tilted her head, her expression unreadable, but there was a weight in her presence, a sorrow so heavy it felt like it might crush me. Tears streamed down my face. "Why are you here?" I whispered. "Why won't you let me go?" Her lips parted, and for the briefest second I thought she might answer. I leaned forward, straining to catch her voice, but the only sound was the sharp crack of the wooden floor as something unseen shifted in the corner. I spun my head toward it, and when I looked back, she was gone. The bed was light again, empty. I pressed my hands to my face and sobbed, my body shaking with exhaustion and fear and grief. I wanted her back more than anything, but not like this. Not as a ghost chained to me, silently haunting the spaces we once filled with laughter. I thought I had already lost her once, but the truth was settling over me cold and merciless. I hadn't let her go at all, and maybe, just maybe, she hadn't let me go either, and that realization was more horrifying than any apparition could ever be. because I never imagined it would only get worse from here. I didn't sleep the night she vanished from the bed again. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind rattling the windows, I thought it might be her coming back. I lay there wide-eyed, clutching the blanket to my chest like a lifeline, too terrified to move, too desperate to let go. My body ached with exhaustion, but my mind refused to surrender. By dawn, I was hollow. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked nothing like me. Skin pale, eyes bloodshot, lips cracked from biting them in my sleep-starved haze. And yet, as I leaned over the sink, splashing water on my face, I thought I saw her standing in the doorway, her silhouette, watching. I spun around so fast, I nearly slipped. Nothing. The door frame was empty, only shadows stretched long from the rising sun. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the wild hammer of my heart, and whispered her name as though it might anchor me. Lila. It didn't. Days bled together after that. She came more often, always silent, always watching, always so heartbreakingly close. Once, I woke to find her sitting at the foot of the bed, her head tilted like she was memorizing me. Another time, I caught her reflection in the black screen of the television while I sat on the couch. She stood behind me, though when I turned, the room was empty. The sightings should have terrified me, and they did, but beneath the fear was a pulsing ache, because every time she came, it felt like the closest thing to holding her again, like the universe had granted me a cruel, impossible second chance. But the longer it went on, the heavier her presence became. It wasn't just sadness in her eyes. It was weight, like she was tethered to me, dragging both of us down. I began to feel it in my body too. My limbs grew sluggish, my chest tight, like I was breathing underwater. I couldn't tell if it was grief, exhaustion, or something far worse. Sometimes, when she appeared, the air in the room grew so heavy I thought it might crush me. It wasn't until one night, sitting alone at the kitchen table, that the truth finally sank in. The chair across from me was empty as always, but I could feel her there. The faintest outline shimmered in the corner of my vision, like heat rising from asphalt. And in that unbearable silence, the words slipped out of me before I could stop them. "You're here because I won't let you go, aren't you?" The air shifted. The lights above flickered. Just once. My throat closed up, but the truth had already spilled, and for the first time since all of this began, I realized I wasn't just haunted. I was holding her here. My grief had anchored her. My longing had chained her. My refusal to move on had turned her into something trapped between life and death. It was my love that had become the cage, and hers that refused to break free. That night, I made a decision I never thought I'd have the strength to make. I crawled into bed with trembling hands, the blanket pulled up to my chin. The room was quiet, shadows swallowing the walls. I closed my eyes and whispered into the stillness, "Lila, if you're here, I need you to listen." The bed dipped beside me. My breath caught, but I didn't open my eyes. If I did, I was afraid I'd never get the words out. "I love you," I said, my voice breaking. "God, I love you more than anything, and I don't want to live without you. I've been clinging to every trace of you, every shadow, every whisper. I thought it would make the pain easier, but it hasn't. It's only made it worse." The mattress shifted, the weight pressing closer, as though she were lying beside me again. Tears streamed hot down my face. "I don't want you to suffer because of me. If I'm the reason you're still here, if I've kept you from moving on, then I have to let you go. Even if it kills me." The air grew cold against my cheek, like lips brushing there, a kiss that wasn't a kiss. I sobbed, clutching the blanket tighter, aching for her warmth. "I'll never stop loving you," I whispered. "But you have to rest now. You have to go where I can't follow. Please, Lila, please." For a long moment, nothing happened, just silence and cold, heavy silence. Then, slowly, the weight beside me began to lift. The mattress lightened, the air warmed, and though my eyes were clenched shut, I could feel her fading, like smoke dissolving into the night. I opened my eyes at last. The room was empty, truly empty. For the first time in months, there was no shadow at the corner of the bed, no silhouette in the dark, no weight pressing down on me, only silence, only the echo of my own sobs. The next morning, the apartment felt different. Lighter, as though some invisible shroud had lifted, but the relief was laced with agony. I walked from room to room in a daze, half expecting to find her waiting. The kitchen chair was just a chair now. The hallway held only shadows, not her figure. The bed was just a bed. Cold, untouched, unbearably empty. I had begged her to leave, and she had listened. That should have brought me peace. Instead, it gutted me. Grief is cruel like that. It makes you crave what destroys you, yet beneath the hollowness was a fragile thread of something else. Something I hadn't felt since before she died. Hope. Because if she could hear me, if she could let go because I asked her to, then maybe she was truly at peace. Maybe she was somewhere safe, somewhere beyond my reach, but free from the chains of this world. And maybe, just maybe, one day I could learn to live again, carrying her love without clinging to her ghost. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing against my ears. My chest ached with the absence of her, but when I closed my eyes, I swore I could still feel the faintest trace of her hand brushing mine. Not heavy, not haunting, just gentle, fleeting, like a goodbye kiss. And for the first time in months, I whispered into the darkness, not in desperation, not in fear, but in gratitude. Good night, Lila. And the silence finally felt like peace. I begged her to leave, but a part of me still longs for the nights she came back. I freed her, or maybe I just abandoned her. I don't know what we were anymore, lovers, ghosts, or something far worse. Tell me, what would you call it? Let me know in the comments.